Okay, welcome. This is the introduction to another series of videos that I want to do about parts of my theory. This having to do with what I call the 8 orders. It's a map of the fundamental nature of being, but for the most part, we're going to use this map to talk about who it is that we are in our relationships with each other, to ourselves, in one-to-one relationships with others, and within the context of a larger community. Now, you can see here that this is a pretty complicated map. There's lots of different colors, boxes. It was difficult to be able to get your head around this. So one of the questions you would be asking yourself is this worth the trouble? Is this something that I really want to be able to get my head around? Because there are lots of different cognitive maps that we can use to make sense of things. There's the Myers-Briggs personality type indicator. There's the Enneagram. I can get guidance from other kinds of maps like the tarot or astrology, all kinds of ways that we try to get a sense of who we are, where we might be, what do we need to do to get where we're going. Why is this a particularly good map? For one thing, it's not primarily dualistic. It is a much more complex map, and it takes into account the complexity of being. It's an unusual map. It's not the way we normally think about things, and thus it will spark our thinking, will kind of push us to be able to make sense in new ways. And it's fundamentally a developmental map. Now, you may have other developmental maps that you use to make sense of things, Maslow's hierarchy of needs being a fairly common one. But there's literally hundreds of developmental maps. And I can say about this one that it is the product of an amalgamation of these other maps. So it really grows out of that in a way that makes it for a very useful and accurate map. So what we're going to do in this series is we're going to look in general at the concept of cognitive maps. What are they? What are they good for? How do we let go of them when they're no longer helpful for us? And then look at the 8 orders as a specific example of a developmental map. Both the 8 orders of being, but also the 8 orders of the proximal self. That is, how do I think about myself? And look at how this can be a tool for understanding our own personal growth, and then therefore gives us some guidance about the various ways that we might show up differently in our lives and in our relationships with others. So there's going to be a series of videos here. This is the first one, and you'll be able to follow along in YouTube here. I strongly suggest that you print out a copy of the map, and I will have a link in the section below on YouTube. You go to justconflict.org, look around there. There's a whole bunch of maps there. But if you can print it out, have it in front of you, pin it to your refrigerator, whatever you do, but have it so you can refer to it routinely. It'll be much easier to kind of, now you will begin to see the connections between things. Okay? Thanks for coming aboard.